My name is Steve Pinker, and I'm professor of psychology at Harvard University, and today I'm going to speak to you about language. I'm actually not a linguist, but a cognitive scientist. I'm not so much interested in language as an object in its own right, but as a window into the human mind. Language is one of the fundamental topics in the human sciences. It's the trait that most conspicuously distinguishes humans from other species. It's essential to human cooperation. We accomplish amazing things by sharing our knowledge or coordinating our action by means of words. It poses profound scientific mysteries, such as how did language evolve in this particular species? How does the brain compute language? But also, language has many practical applications, not surprisingly given how central it is to human life. Language comes so naturally to us that we're apt to forget what a strange and miraculous gift it is. But think about what you're going to be doing for the next hour. You're going to be listening patiently as a guy makes noise while he exhales. Now, why would you do something like that? It's not that I can claim that the sounds I'm going to make are particularly mellifluous, but rather I've coded information into the exact sequence of hisses and hums and squeaks and pops that I'll be making. You have the ability to recover the information from that stream of noises, allowing us to share ideas. Now, the ideas that we're going to share are about this talent, language, but with a slightly different sequence of hisses and squeaks. I could cause you to be thinking thoughts about a vast array of topics, anything from the latest developments in your favorite reality show to theories of the origin of the universe. This is what I think of as the miracle of language, its vast expressive power, and it's a phenomenon that still fills me with wonder even after having studied language for 35 years. And it is the prime phenomenon that the science of language aims to explain. Not surprisingly, language is central to human life. Humans accomplish great things because they can exchange information about their knowledge and intentions via the medium of language. Language, moreover, is not a peculiarity of one culture, but it has been found in every society ever studied by anthropologists. There are some 6,000 languages spoken on Earth, all of them complex. No one has ever discovered a human society that lacks complex language. For this and other reasons, Charles Darwin wrote, "Man has an instinctive tendency to speak, as we see in the babble of our young children, while no child has an instinctive tendency to bake, brew, or write." Language is an intricate talent, and it's not surprising that the science of language should be a complex discipline. It includes the study of how language itself works, including grammar, the assembly of words, phrases, and sentences, phonology, the study of sound, semantics, the study of meaning, and pragmatics, the study of the use of language in conversation. Scientists interested in language also study how it is processed in real time, a field called psycholinguistics, how it is acquired by children, the study of language acquisition, and how it is computed in the brain, the discipline called neurolinguistics. Before we begin, it's important not to confuse language with three other things that are closely related to language. One of them is written language. Unlike spoken language, which is found in all human cultures throughout history, writing was invented a very small number of times in human history, about 5,000 years ago, and alphabetic writing, where each mark on the page stands for a vowel or consonant, appears to have been invented only once in all of human history by the Canaanites about 3,700 years ago. And as Darwin pointed out, children have no instinctive tendency to write, but have to learn it through instruction and schooling. A second thing not to confuse language with is proper grammar. Linguists distinguish between descriptive grammar, the rules that characterize how people do speak, and prescriptive grammar, rules that characterize how people ought to speak if they are writing careful written prose. Now, a third thing not to confuse language with is thought. Many people report that they think in language, but cognitive psychologists have shown that there are many kinds of thought that don't actually take place in the form of sentences. For example, we know from ingenious experiments that non-linguistic creatures, such as babies before they've learned to speak, or other kinds of animals, have sophisticated kinds of cognition. They register cause and effect, and objects, and the intentions of other people, all without the benefit of speech. We also know that even in creatures who do have language, namely adults, a lot of thinking goes on in forms other than language. For example, visual imagery. If you look at the top two three-dimensional figures in this display, and I were to ask you, do they have the same shape or a different shape? People don't solve that problem by describing those strings of cubes in words, but rather by taking an image of one and mentally rotating it into the orientation of the other, a form of non-linguistic thinking. For that matter, even when you understand language, what you come away with is not in itself the actual language that you hear. Another important finding in cognitive psychology is that long-term memory for verbal material records the gist or the meaning or the content of the words rather than the exact form of the words. For example, I like to think that you retain some memory of what I have been saying for the last 10 minutes. But I suspect that if I were to ask you to reproduce any sentence that I have uttered, you would be incapable of doing so. What sticks in memory is something that's far more abstract than the actual sentences, something that we can call meaning or content or semantics.